Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award-winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
But I want to catch up with our good friend Alison O'Reilly from the Irish Examiner, who always has the latest news and information in relation to this. Good evening to you, Alison.
Hi, Niall. Thanks for having me on.
Good. Alison, well, what happened in the Shannon today, or did indeed anything happen?
No, I mean, we're still where we were talking about a few months ago, Niall. This bill, which is just so discriminatory against a certain group of people, i.e. the people who were in mother and baby homes less than 6 months, and then obviously, just excluding them, and the people who were boarded out or fostered, as we would know now, they're just not included. Private adoptions, illegal adoptions, it's all discriminatory, and anybody who suffered at the hands of the state during this time should be compensated. But for some reason, some big brain there in the government seems to think that there's no attachment difficulties or bonds with a child who is separated from their primary carer before 6 months. I think it's just nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense.
But is it, they mentioned, I'm looking here, the Clan Project, and I'm sure you may be familiar with them, and they mentioned 24,000 people. Now, we know the number is around 80,000 people who are adopted in mother and baby homes, and God knows how many mothers are involved as well. I mean, this is going to cost the state a substantial amount of money. And by the way, I'm not suggesting it shouldn't. It absolutely should. I believe they should be giving more money to those people whose lives have been so drastically affected. Yeah, and they got away lightly on this one. But in saying that, I didn't realise the figure was 24,000 of those who would have been there less than 6 months, or those who would have done it somewhere else apart from the places that have been nominated in the bill or mentioned in the bill.
Yeah, and you see, children being adopted today don't be adopted past 18 months. And, at 6 months. So they're separated from their mother. They've absolutely suffered trauma and attachment difficulties, no matter what age they are, even under 6 months. But some brain there seems to think that if you're under 6 months, well, then you're not really affected. I don't know what the meaning of that is, but that does affect over 20,000 people. So there's 60,000, in and around 60,000 that will receive compensation if they apply for it. I mean, they won't come looking for you if you don't apply for it. But there's also more than 20,000 who are affected, and they are all the boarded out, all the illegals, all the foster care. So, I mean, it's so unfair.
And so what's the next step? Alison, we're talking about this particular bill for the last 5 years, right? And it just keeps getting moved and pushed and moved and pushed, and there's another complication. The bill has been passed. For those who are included in it, and thankful for small mercies, I suppose, to some degree, for this bit of compensation they're going to get, depending on how long you happen to be in there, when are they going to get it? Because, as we know, many of those people are elderly and they're dying. So the longer the government leaves this, the more money they'll save. So when is there going to be a website? Or they've already died. So when is the website going to be up, or the portal, or whatever it is they're going to set up for people to make applications for this? When is it actually going to be up, and when is it actually going to be paid? Because it looks like it's just never going to happen.
Unfortunately, Niall, the answer is still out there.
Blowing in the wind somewhere,
Later in the year is all we're being told. That includes everything from the excavation of the Tune Baby's grave in Galway later in the year. The redress scheme, it's passed, it's debated, it's this, it's that, later in the year. So this redress scheme was supposed to have opened this time last year.
And then we were told towards the end of last year, I think, by Roderick Gorman, February. We're now past February as well. And by the way, Roderick Gorman and the government, and I remember that Upfront programme on TV going back about 6 weeks ago. I can't remember the politician's name, Minister for State. Anyway, he did turn around and he said that their evidence shows that people who were there less than 6 months didn't have any attachment, or that same type of attachment. Absolutely. We had psychologist Catherine Halsey, and she was on the show here only recently talking about the importance of attachment in those first 6 months, and she had never seen any research that would suggest otherwise. And she's a psychologist.
I think that's a huge issue in this country, even today, in the foster care and adoption system. If you ask anyone in the Adoption Authority of Ireland and TUSLA, they'll go on about attachment and bonding, but they won't actually stick by it. And you can look at that now in the current adoption case that's going through the Supreme Court at the moment. It's absolutely shocking that anybody would think that a person who was less than 6 months in a mother and baby home, separated from their mother, shouldn't have been in there at all. It wasn't their fault they were born in a hellhole like that, and yet they're not going to be compensated for it. Who likes to say they were born in a mother and baby home, run by the state, ran by the nuns, and separated from your mother? And that's not going to cause you any damage at all. They're all damaged in one way or another through no fault of their own. And the damage was done by the laws of this land and the nuns that were allowed to carry out those actions on behalf of the state. Not just the nuns. The state runs the country. The government runs the country. And this is what happened to these people. But yet they've been excluded. And it is nonsense to say that somebody isn't going to suffer attachment issues because they were in a home less than 6 months.
By the way, I don't want to seem mean here. I don't want to seem mean here. But if it's a case the government goes, okay, maybe we should reconsider this, is that not just going to delay it a bit more? Because Holly Cairns tweeted about it today. And she said the Mother Baby Homes Redress Scheme is before the Shannon today. This is the last chance for the government to do the right thing. I said, Irish, you can contact your senator here with a link to the Clan project, right? So obviously nothing happened today. But indeed, if there's a suggestion that something should be changed, is that not going to give Roderick O'Gorman an opportunity to go, well, then, okay, it's back to the drawing board?
Yeah, I'll see you back in 2026. Yeah. No, it's just, it is absolutely disgraceful. The whole system and everything is designed to wait you out. And that is what happens in this country. And not just this country, all across the world. They wait you out. So if you die, you die. You think they care about you, they don't. Those 5 and 10 minute speeches they give, about, oh, we're just so sorry that this happened. We're sorry. Their previous governments did this. So, it's absolutely disgraceful, the whole system. But I just think it's designed to wait you out. I'll be amazed to see if this redress scheme puts any money towards anybody by the end of this year, let alone the excavation in June that we're waiting on since 2014. So we'll just sit and wait, Niall. You'll have me back on and we'll be saying the same thing.
So what can people do? Can people do anything? Can you lobby people? Can those who were adopted, who are sitting listening tonight or listening to the show in previous times when we've talked as well during the day and night, can they get onto the local politician? Is that going to do any good at all? I mean, is there anything people can do? And I just don't understand. I know it doesn't directly affect Leo Varadkar. It doesn't directly affect Micheál Martin. It doesn't directly affect the rest of the government because maybe they're not, but they weren't born in mother and baby homes. But for those who were...
No, it doesn't affect them. But they are running the country on behalf of the people who put them there. So while they're not personally affected, they have a massive responsibility. And the responsibility is on them to get this over the line and stop pushing people around like bullies. They're treating people like they're nothing. And they're not nothing. You yourself went through this. You yourself will know all about attachment difficulties. Some people don't even know they've attachment difficulties. You have suffered if you're in a mother and baby home, whether you want to believe it or not. And whoever chooses to accept the redress money or not, that's their own business, because every individual feels their own way and are entitled to their own feelings. However, that money has been put out there because of damage done to people who were locked up at the hands of the state for being pregnant outside of marriage. That's what it boils down to.
Now, by the way, I do want to point out on that matter as well, if people don't want to accept the money from the redress scheme, you don't have to accept it. You're quite entitled to go off and get a solicitor and take a personal case against the state yourself if you want, if you have the time and the money.
Yeah, and if you've got 5 or 6 years. Again, it's going to be waiting you out. It's just waiting you out. I just think that this problem of the mother and baby homes, institutions, laundries, the whole lot, it's so enormous. I think that some people sometimes just can't take it on board. But if you went out and marched like they did with the water charges, look how quick the government can spring into action.
But see,
when people go up against them.
the water charges affects everybody in the country. And I'm not suggesting that people who weren't born in mother and baby homes don't care, because they do. Because everybody listening knows somebody, whether you know it or not. They might not tell you about it. Everybody knows either a mother or a child that was in one of these institutions, or even a laundry that were in these institutions. So everybody should be affected and should be angry by it or about it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it happened to your fellow countrymen, and it's all our problem, because people are damaged as a result. And not just that, and I think this hasn't been touched on enough, there is an intergenerational impact, and that ripples through families. You can go back 4 or 5 generations, and the damage done to one person through no fault of their own then affects the next generation, and that affects their generation. So there is a massive trauma there that has impacted generations of families. So it does impact us all. It does impact us all.
Oh, it does.
And you don't know what's going on in people's lives, or where they've come from, or what their hurt or pain is. But pain and suffering done by at the hands of the state is all our problem.
Yeah. Are we destined to repeat this again? If we don't face up to what happened, is history destined to repeat itself if we don't? Because realistically, unless they address this or redress this, if you want to call it that, we're kind of destined to make the same mistakes over and over again, aren't we? If we don't accept we've done something wrong. I mean, it's all well and good, as you said, saying sorry with crocodile tears in the doll, but that doesn't work, because that's not action, is it?
No, I think people need to get out and march. But I'm supposed to be biased in all of this, but I'm sick of it now. I really am sick of it, because I know in another 6 weeks we'll be talking about it again.
Well, I tell you what, if you're getting out there, give me a shout. I'm not meant to. Broadcasting regulations say I don't get involved in protests, but I'd be happy to lead the protest with you.
Well, you can definitely cover it. It doesn't stop you doing that.
I'm always a bit of a rebel. You know me, Alison. I'm a bit of a rebel.
Oh, sure, here's your sister. But no, I feel. Look, I feel very passionate about this, and I just think it's deeply, deeply wrong, and they need to get their skates on and get this over the line, because it's not right and it's not fair.
Alison O'Reilly from the Irish Examiner. Listen, thank you very much indeed, and I appreciate you coming on the air to talk to us once again.
Real people, real opinions, Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.